Hey yo YouTube, I got something in brand new, something I've been waiting for, something I've been super excited for, and that is none other than the brand new, just released in the US, Paul Gaultier Male Elixir Absolu. Yes, they are doing a flanker of a flanker, which is crazy work. But a new fragrance is a new fragrance. It doesn't matter the name. So let's start first with the bottle and the presentation. We got the iconic tin can presentation that you get with all the Male flankers. All right, so let's go ahead and get this unwrapped. Get the plastic off. Similar to the presentation you get with the original Male Elixir, Paul Gaultier Male Elixir Absolu on the front. You open it from the bottom, it just screws off like that. So this bottle looks similar to this bottle, except instead of the black stripes, they gone gold on gold. It's got that classier, slightly more sophisticated feel. Got the same gold pull tab on both of them. The presentation is pretty much identical minus the black stripes versus the gold stripes. One thing I love about the Elixir bottles versus the other ones is they give you this bigger, more substantial pull tab. Recently I did a review on the Le Beau Flower edition, and the pull tab, it broke just opening it out of the can. It came broke. This one is substantial. It's a lot nicer. It's not gonna break on you. And this is nice to have if you travel. You put the pull tab back and it's not gonna spray out. So that's what the pull tab is for. All right, so next thing we gotta talk about is price. And we talking full retail, not from discounters. Original Male Elixir for the 4.2 ounce is gonna run you $160. Male Elixir Absolu is gonna run you $175. So right off the top, this one's gonna be slightly more expensive. You will have to make the determination based on the scent profile if this is worth the price increase versus this one. All right, so let's get into the important part and let's talk about the scent profile of Male Elixir Absolu. It's got a 3-note breakdown with lavender, plum, and tonka bean. Now, with these 3-note breakdowns that all these companies are going to, I personally don't actually believe that there's only 3 notes in these fragrances. I'm guessing they're just the 3 most dominant notes, and that's why everybody is kind of simplifying the note breakdown. The original Male Elixir has a lot more than just the 3 notes, but let's get a first spray and get a first impression on what this actually smells like. And we're gonna go right on skin. So let's take the pull tab off and we're just gonna spray it. Let's spray it on the right hand first. Let's give it 2 sprays. 1, 2. Let that dry down for a second. So my first impression is this is very similar to the original Male Elixir. It has that original Male Elixir DNA in there, but I'm definitely getting a heavy dose of plum right off the bat. I'll tell you how it differs from the original Male Elixir. I'm not picking up any of the honey or really any of that sweet tobacco that you get in the original, but I am getting a heavy dose of that plum, a heavy dose of the lavender, a heavy dose of the mint. Let's do this. Let's do a complete comparison. Since I got the original Male Elixir here, let's just go ahead, pop the pull tab off this one and spray it on the other hand. 2 sprays just like the other one. Let's give it a side by side. All right, so having them side by side, I was pretty spot on from my initial assessment. Although I do pick up a little vanilla in the Male Elixir Absolu, it's a lot toned down and a lot less sweet than in the original Male Elixir. The original Male Elixir, you're getting more of the honey, more of the tobacco, and a heavier dose of sweet vanilla. Basically, when it comes to scent profile, they're similar but different. They start off with that same original DNA, except the Male Elixir Absolu just veers off in a different direction. This is toned down, less sweet, same intensity, the same type of projection, the same loudness, but the sweetness is just a little more muted. So in my opinion, if I was younger and I'm trying to stand out and you want that overdose of sweetness like a lot of modern fragrances have, then I would go for the original Male Elixir. But the original Male Elixir is kind of a sweetness overload. It's overdosed on sweetness. So you really got to be careful with the original Male Elixir on how much you spray, because that sweetness can quickly become overwhelming and it lasts all night and a day and it'll never go away. So I could see if you're, you know, a little more mature, trying to be a little more sophisticated, a little more elegant, I could see going for the Male Elixir Absolu. But these fragrances are so similar, I don't think you need both. I think it's one or the other. It's got the same DNA. It's kind of like, what vibe are you trying to go for? A sweet, loud, clubbing type fragrance, or a more mature, sophisticated fragrance that's still gonna get you noticed, but just isn't overdosed on the sweetness aspect that probably appeals to younger people more so than older people. I would say that the Male Elixir Absolu is actually slightly more masculine in that way because it's not as sweet. All right, so when would you want to wear the Male Elixir Absolu? I'm gonna say the same time that you will wear the original Male Elixir is gonna be when you're gonna wear this one. This is gonna be a fall winter fragrance. This is gonna be more of a nighttime fragrance. I don't know if I would really wanna wear either of these during the day if the heat is out. I wouldn't really consider these a work fragrance. They're pretty loud, but if I was gonna choose one to wear to work, it would definitely be the Male Elixir Absolu over the Male Elixir, because the sweetness is just overdosed on the Male Elixir versus this one. So this is gonna wear a little bit more nicer and less offensive than the Male Elixir will. I think it's a fantastic fragrance. I think it smells incredible. I think the plum takes it in a different enough direction that it'll honestly be more appealing to a broad range of people. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10, and honestly, I would give the original Male Elixir also an 8.5 out of 10. The only reason I don't give it higher is because it's really a cold weather fragrance. It's not an all season fragrance. It's not one I would wear all year, and that's really the only thing I'm docking it for. If I can only wear it half of the year, then I gotta dock it a little bit for that, but there's nothing wrong with having seasonal fragrances. I just gotta drop it down a notch because it's not as versatile as a 4-season fragrance. There's nothing that says you can't wear this all 4 seasons. You absolutely could if you wanted to, but if you have options, I just wouldn't. Now, which one does your boy like better? I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, okay? Male Elixir, I loved it ever since I first got it. I wore the hell out of it when I first got it. I wore it so much to the point where I had to fall back and stop wearing it because I just wore it too much. Male Elixir Absolu is gonna be the one I would reach for first. It smells a little more sophisticated, a little more elegant, a little more grown man-ish. It just suits what I like a little more. I love sweet fragrances, but I like the touch that they did on this. I feel like they knocked it out of the park with this one. This is a silky smooth fragrance. This is definitely gonna be an easy reach. I think this is gonna be a huge hit for Paul Gaultier, which is saying a lot because the original Male Elixir was already a massive hit. So for me, it's gonna be Male Elixir Absolu, although I'm still gonna wear Male Elixir. It'd be nice to switch it up depending on the night, depending on how I feel. I might rock this or I might rock this. But let's talk about one other thing. So if you don't own either one of these, do you need to own both? I'm gonna say no. These smell similar enough to where they could be considered redundant. Unless you like to collect Paul Gaultier fragrances, I would smell each one and decide which one you like better. Do you like the sweeter Male Elixir, or do you like the slightly more smooth, sophisticated Male Elixir Absolu? It's got the same base DNA, they just take it in slightly different directions. So that's my first impression and my first take on a brand new Paul Gaultier Male Elixir Absolu. So let me know in the comments what you think, and if you plan to pick up the new Male Elixir Absolu, down in the comments.